Hi guys, welcome to our 30th live YouTube session. I'm Wayne Smith and this is Lee Grabham.
Hello.
So,
Happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas, yeah.
Saying, really,
Christmas
yes.
jumper, almost Christmas jumpers.
Well, mine didn't turn up, unfortunately. And
So-
I've already given the Slipknot one an outing this year, so...
Well, my Tonkoko's only had one use and I need to get as many uses in as possible this year. So this is it's second outing and then we'll keep going, probably 3 more outings before Christmas Day, I reckon. So welcome to our live audience and welcome to our subscribers at home. We're in a very unique location. You can probably see behind us. We're at the production facility in Hanley and we're sat in our staff room. A couple of members of staff in, but none of the usual team. They're all probably drinking in the bar at Hanley Tap. And you probably noticed there's no guest with us this time. So it's just myself and Lee. We did a collab this week with Mash Gang. But unfortunately, Jordan couldn't join us. He's actually down in London. We bumped into him yesterday ourselves. So he couldn't make it up to do the collab because of other diary commitments. So unfortunately, we can't grill him about low alcohol beers. But we'll probably answer any questions you've got on that later on. So just one beer to get out of the fridge this time. So we've got rum Sundae. So if you take that out, let it warm up, it's going to taste much better later on when we get to that point. And if you haven't joined us recently, we're calling it new technology still because we're still ironing out the kinks, but we've got the new technology. So we've got a few extra cameras on the go to give you a few more shots of the brewery and the audience. And then we've got a few things like screen overlays and things. Which
So I think we've already had a demo or two of the cameras. Can we just do it again? Yeah.
And just to really confuse myself and Lee, we've got a big TV off camera. If we sat staring across to the left, it's because we're trying to look at the camera, and it's about 2 minutes behind, so it'll look quite strange for us. But yeah, that's nice.
So it's just happened for us. It probably happened for you about 10 seconds ago. So that is a shot of our brewery. Same thing that's over our shoulders there. We also have a camera in the room, audience cam. There we go.
Make yourself comfy, Jane.
Too late.
Running order.
So running order, yes, where we can also demonstrate our fancy technology. So as always, 4 beers. The first one up is going to be this one. I don't need to do that anymore because I can just say this
Look
one
on your screen.
Is it going to appear there? Yes, excellent. So you should see a can on screen here, which is Alpine Eagle 4.1% American Light Lager. I'm still looking. There it is.
It's just the one that was blocked Lee.
Brilliant. You need to shuffle it to the left next time. That was deliberate. All right, thank you. Thank you. And then we're following that up with one of my beers of the year, Nanook, a beer we brewed last time we were together, which was, when was that? This time last month?
A month ago.
So brewed with Big Smoke, our second attempt at a cold IPA. Love the first one, really love what we've done with this second one, so that's going to be second beer up. And then in your box this time round, you've got 4 different, as we've called them, showstopper beers. As much as we wanted to do all 4, we realised that would have been somewhat suicidal, particularly live on air, so we're only doing 2 of them tonight. We're going to do Plum Cake, which is the Plum, Vanilla and Tonka one that we did with Funky Fluid. And then we're going to finish, as Wayne has already announced, with Rum Sundae, which is the mere 12% one that we did with Nerd Brewing from Sweden and Funky Fluid from Poland, if you were not aware. So yeah, it's a really strong box. I think all in, you've got something like 6 collabs in this box. You've got the Big Smoke, you've got 4 showstoppers, and then you've got the York Dungeons one, thank you. And only a couple of core beers, so we know you don't like to have too much core beer, so I think this is a particularly good box this time round again. So as always, what we're going to be doing with each beer is we're going to be talking about the concept behind this, why we might have called it what we've called it, the ingredients that have gone into it, if there's anything unique about the brewing approach or the ingredients. So we'll go through those, and we need this session to be as interactive as we possibly can make it. So that really is over to you. So in the room, pop your hand up, we'll get your questions, but online you have the ability to type your questions in below this video, and Pete and Ant will then capture them off camera and pass them in to us, providing they're clean enough to be broadcast. Okay. So, and you could also send your feedback into info@brewyork.co.uk. So tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like. Hopefully more of the former than the latter.
So without any further ado, Can you pour me my beer?
I can do that.
Thank you. We've got Alpine Eagle coming up. So Alpine Eagle is pretty unique for us. It's been designed and conceived especially for a specific customer and occasion. And we think that our head brewer Tom, it was his recipe, he's done a really good job of this. It's quite different for us at Brew York. So it is a very simple, very clean, crisp American style lager. We've designed it to try and cater for mass market lager drinkers because we we launched it at the Winter Hut in York, which is the big bar that's on for the Christmas festival. And we have Golden Eagle, our Pilsner, on, but we wanted something that's a little bit more accessible and easy drinking. So most, well, not most, well, yeah, most. The biggest volume of lager that's sold is this style of lager, which is, if you think of things like your Budweiser, your Coors Light, the Pabst Blue Ribbon, it's that style of lager. And what makes it a little bit different to the Pilsner we make is we actually use other sources of sugar. So the grain bill on this doesn't just include Pilsner malt, we actually use rice and maize. So you get sugar with to help with the alcohol, but it doesn't actually generate you much body or flavour to that extent. So it's very strange to be trying to design a beer that's just very, very low in flavour profile and easy to drink. But I think Tom's done a great job with this one. It's a style of beer that if we go back a few years, I couldn't imagine we would be brewing. But we had a specific order for it from a customer, and they've been flying through it. They've been going through 20 kegs a week of this lager in the Winter Hut. So he's done a real good job. This is not filtered, so most lager would typically be filtered and pasteurised to some extent. So it's not going to be crystal clear like a mainstream lager. But given a bit more time, if we could probably make this just as bright as your mainstream lager. What do you think? The beer you wanted to launch your birthday hangover with.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's any secret that I'm not the hugest of lager fans, but I have to say in the last year or so, I have grown to love lagers more than I did. I think years and years ago, when there wasn't so much choice around, I would have the occasional pint of Stella, or White Beet as it used to get called back then, before they reduced the ABV on it. But yeah, I think there's a certain artistry in making a lager because there's nothing to hide behind with the lager. There's no hops that are going to disguise any kind of flavour imperfection. So it really does take a great deal of skill to do a lager, which is why, as a brewery, you wouldn't really start out doing that. You need to master your craft doing other things, and then once you've refined your cleaning techniques, once you're on top of your game, then you would look at doing a lager. And beyond that, you also need to have the right kind of water. Because there's very low flavour content in here, not a massive amount of hop presence, if your water had a lot of calcium in, for example, you're going to be tasting the calcium rather than the hops. So you do need a water that's very, very low in mineral content. And that's why the world's prime example is the Pilsner. Comes from Pilsen in Czech Republic. And the water there has almost no mineral content whatsoever. It's very, very unique. And with that, they're able to create these really clean, crisp lagers that make that wonderful impression. Think Pilsner Urquell. So Golden Eagle, the other lager that we do is our kind of tribute to Pilsner Urquell. It uses the same type of hop as best we can. We've made the water the same for that one as well. But this is, yeah, an American light lager, so more like the styles Wayne has already mentioned. So
very, very low ingredient cost, which is great for us. The main cost in creating a lager is the time it spends in tank and the yeast. So we have to get a specific yeast in just to make our lagers, and the yeast is pretty pricey. But so it balances out, and it's a lot more affordable, which means that the end beer is cheaper for you guys. But how much lager you want to drink, not typically the drink of choice for our subscribers and fans, but I hope you appreciate it. It's just very, a good example of this style of beer. Hops, German hop, Hallertau Mittelfrüh.
Yep.
So just very, very simple hop. It's not about the hops, it's about the malt and body on this beer, so you won't really taste too much from there. And yeah, as Lee put in the notes, it's not designed to set the world on fire. It's designed for easy drinking, so unchallenging drinking, post-work pint. So a few of us have just clocked off, or not clocking off for a while.
Depends whether you call this a job or not, I guess. So yeah, this was conceived by Tom Mahoney, our head brewer, and because we hadn't given it a name until some time into its production cycle, it spent most of its life being known as Mahoney Lager. Then eventually we came up with the name. And yeah, I think Tom's done a good job with this, and I've been lucky to, well, if you can call it lucky, I've ended up working late with Tom a couple of times, and the beer we've gone to after a bit of a long day has been this one, because it is just that easy, refreshing thing. And then you move on and you do something slightly more challenging after that. So, at this point, we always then go on and talk about our highlights of the last month, what we've enjoyed personally and what we've enjoyed professionally. So, where do you want to start with?
I got a week off work this month, which is great. So, my partner Sal, it's her birthday, so we went across to Whitby for the week. And yeah, just had a nice chilled out, lower stress week than normal. Obviously, a little bit of work every day, but that's just what happens when you're in your own business. It was a lot of fun and a lot much lower stress than normally. What about you?
Well, before we go on to mine, I think yours was a little bit of a busman's though, wasn't it? You visited some of our good customers.
Yeah.
And you seem to spend a hell of a lot of time in pubs, completely unlike you.
Well, exactly. Well, that's relaxing, isn't it? That's de-stressing, going to a pub. Different style of beers, because besides one or two venues in Whitby, it's very much more traditional. So it's quite nice to have a bit of a break off craft beer and drink some more traditional cask beer. So that's pretty good. And then the guys at Green Dragon, I always spend a bit of time there when we go up, which is nice. And they've just opened a sister venue called the Esquivalt. So it's nice to have a couple of more craft venues there to visit as well when you're in. So pop in and say hello to them if you're ever in Whitby.
I suppose my personal highlight of the last month, I'm going to pick two different things. And I'm sorry, Polly, my wife is in the room here, and usually it would be something I've done with her. But no, this time I'm going to say I went to the York City game and watched us play Wrexham when we got an equaliser in the 94th minute. Wayne and I took some of our good customers and some of our team down, and we had a fantastic day, enjoying some of the hospitality there, and the game was brilliant. So, in a nutshell, York are somewhere near the bottom of the table, and Wrexham are top of the league, and they're massively funded by Hollywood superstars.
King went there today.
To Wrexham?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Right. So it was expected that Wrexham would turn up and walk through York, and it would be a matter of how many they put past them. And they only scored themselves in about the 87th minute. And then we brought on a sub, and he scored with his first touch, and we drew 1-1. So that was a magnificent occasion. And particularly because it was the first occasion we got to see some of our branding up in the stadium, because we now sponsor the South Stand there. And like I said, I was cheekily I've really enjoyed the World Cup, I've got to say. I've enjoyed all the drama and the people winning that you're not expecting to win. And just before we've come on air, we've seen another one of those. Brazil are gone.
What?
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Spoiler. For anyone who was trying to avoid the result, apologies. But yeah, it was 1-1 in extra time, and then Croatia knocked them out on penalties.
Crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, just yet another example of the craziness of this World Cup. So hopefully it will conclude tomorrow with
another shock.
when we beat France.
But leading on from what Lee said about the Wrexham game, it was really good for us because from a work perspective, we've sponsored the football club and we got to see our branding up for the first time, but also it was on BT Sport. So every time they were having an interview or something, we were like, oh, there we are. So that was it was nice to see it, but
even though it was like blurred in the background, and only
we
would know what it was.
But yeah, the full branding isn't up yet. That's apparently going in before Tuesday's game. So it was a little disappointing not to get the full branding up in time. But the pitch side hoarding was up, which was good. And it's just nice to see everyone at the stadium and people like looking forward to trying our beer there. So that was pretty good.
Yeah, second that, can't wait to see the branding up. Ant off camera just put some headphones on and probably can't hear me. Yeah, he can't hear me. Look at that. So he designed all the branding that we're putting up in the stadium, and he's done a cracking job, and he's going to have to watch this on playback to appreciate what I've
He is
just
listening
said
to us, so he'll hear it in about 10 seconds. Not now he's taking the headphones off.
Yeah, that. Right, okay. Someone will have to tell Ant later on what I just said. And I would say, professionally, the highlight for me would be myself and Pete went to the York Press Business Awards a couple of weeks back, would it be now?
Yeah, about 2 weeks.
And we won Manufacturer of the Year for York. So that was a humbling and privileged moment. And I think fair to say, Pete, a popular win seemed to go down well with the crowd.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Cool. Right. Jeez, are we on to the second beer already?
Questions?
Oh, no, yeah. Thank God. Right, so, I mean, Wayne did reference hangover, so maybe we should tell you what we've been doing the last couple of days.
Not much.
No, not much. Yeah, indeed. So Wednesday, we went down to Brew with Big Smoke. So that's the guys that we brewed the second beer that we're about to drink with, and we've just been down and brewed a big stout with them down there. And they took us into their tap room around lunchtime, and that's where it began. And then we did 2 different tap takeovers in 2 different Fuller's pubs down in the kind of Hammersmith and Chiswick area of London. And then the day after that, yesterday, we were at one of our trade events called Brewers Congress, organised by the Brewers Journal, where you go and see many of your suppliers, etc. And then it concludes with a meal and dance type thing. Not that we were doing any dancing.
No. Yeah, we were shortlisted for Brewery of the Year with the Brewers Journal. So we obviously haven't been jumping up and down celebrating, so we obviously didn't win it. But yeah, unfortunately, we didn't win, but just to be shortlisted out of all the breweries in the country was a pretty good result. Big notable mention to Lost and Grounded, who actually did win it. So a brew from Bristol, predominantly focus on lager. So if you do see their lager out, tell them that you like Alpine Eagle better.
No, in all seriousness, try and find their Keller Pils if you've not had it before. It is probably the UK's best example of craft lager. And then North, our friends from over in Leeds, got a commendation as well. But like Wayne says, nice to be part of the conversation. Hopefully, in years to come, we can go 1 or 2 better and win Brew of the Year. Never say never, eh?
No, exactly. So we've got some questions.
Well, first of all, we're starting with a birthday shout out to Alan Kendra. So happy birthday, Alan.
So is it today your birthday? Yes. Oh, so it's Lee's yesterday, yours today. So nice. Double birthday. So you can have share some 80% rum with Lee later if you want.
Yeah. So some of our friends from Reading have turned up today, and they brought me some 80% Austrian rum, which I'm told I have to drink once we go off camera. So maybe you can join me with that. No. Oh, you look very scared then.
Work in the morning.
Work in the morning. Nice. Well, you'll sleep better. Right. What does calcium taste like? Oh, right.
Calcium-y, like milk.
How would you describe the taste of that?
Chalk.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, well, calcium carbonate is chalk. So, yeah, like that, I guess. How worried are you about the industry with wild beer going under? Alan, yeah, very, very good and topical question.
Yeah, it's not just wild beer. There's been a lot of breweries in the last week in particular. There's 2 more announced today.
2 today? I saw Solvay Society. Who was the
I can't remember. I only briefly looked at it on Twitter. It was a brewery, a 7-year-old brewery as well. So it's not like a...
Same as us. Yeah. Near enough. Yeah. Solvay Society, they're down in London. They've gone. Twisted Wheel announced earlier in the week.
Yeah.
That I think was a case of bad timing with them because they'd started at the beginning of the pandemic and then they never really got to experience what normal is. So yeah, I feel sorry for those guys.
Leeds Brewery's current incarnation went a week or so ago. Yeah, there's been quite a lot.
I suppose quite a few close to home because Great Yorkshire, we understand, went a few weeks back as well, which used to be Cropton Brewery, if you're aware of that one. So to answer your question, are we worried? Well, reeling off that amount of names in such a short period of time, obviously you are going to be a little bit concerned. I think because of Wayne's accountancy background and him restraining me, I think we run a tight ship here. I think we are prepared to weather most things. I mean, you can't say never, never. You don't know what's coming down. Who expected a war immediately after a pandemic? So you never know. But I think we are in good shape and have a very diverse and strong business. So I would hope we'll still be around in years to come. But yeah, it's scary. And what we have to bear in mind is these are closures that are happening at the traditionally busiest time of the year. So if they can't make it work now, what do you think we're about to witness in January and February? So unfortunately, this is not yet the tip of the iceberg. I think we're going to see a lot more of this come January, February. And yeah, well, time will tell.
Yeah, the time of the World Cup really hasn't helped because it's been a few years since we had a busy December for obvious reasons, and then this year the World Cup is really impacting on pubs trade sales. Certain venues obviously benefited massively from it, but they always would have been busy anyway. If the World Cup hadn't been on, they would have been busy. So all that's happened is you take a tournament that's usually in the summer, that usually brings some extra trade in at a different time of the year, and it's now just been combined into a busy period, and the venues that don't show football are being impacted by it, and the venues that typically serve mainstream lager are only benefiting. So it's not great. One of the things that helps us as a business a little bit, or quite a lot, is having an outlet or multiple outlets, tap rooms and bars where we can sell our product directly to you guys. So that kind of diversifies our portfolio a bit, and our web store. So when you guys buy beer to drink at home, our subscribers, obviously you guys buy beer regularly for offers. All these things help us keep money coming in even when things are tough. So it has been a really tough year for us, but we are doing okay. We're not flying off to the Maldives for Christmas or anything, but yeah, it's been an okay year.
Maybe Barbados.
Yeah, Whitby again. But yeah, we're doing what we can to try and make sure we keep all our costs under control, so we can hopefully ride the storm until next year.
But certainly yesterday when we were catching up with lots of our colleagues across the industry, it was the big topic of conversation. The one that kept coming up was wild beer, because it does make you worry when somebody that's that entrenched, that big, been around for that long, if it can get them, well, I guess it can get any of us. But we'll see. Anyway, that nice positive subject to start on.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Alan.
It wasn't me.
No,
It wasn't me.
that wasn't you. Oh, we have another Alan.
What? There's not more than one of them.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I've missed one here. Any plans for a collab with any Newcastle breweries next year, Ian? So we're going to be working with Full Circle again next year in May, I believe, going up there to do that one. We've worked with those guys before. Really love Alex up there, so looking forward to working with him again. But that's the only Newcastle-based one we currently have plans with. And that must have been Ian here, I'm guessing. Okay.
Possibly. Need to see if your lager down in one.
I've had too many days of consecutive drinking to do that. So next up we have Nanook. And Ant, correct me if I'm wrong here. Nanook, the name is a mythical polar bear? Yes?
By the way, for the audience back at home, I am not going to the toilet. I'm just jumping off camera a second.
Inuit. The Inuit name for the king of the polar bears, hence the cute little beast that we have on the can. So Nanook, cold IPA, brewed last month with Big Smoke. And a cold IPA is basically a beer fermented slightly warmer with a lager yeast that has then been hopped with a decent amount of hops. So it's not to be confused with a style that you might hear called either an India Pale Lager or an India Hop Lager. So those are lagers produced exactly as any lager would be, but then they are dry hopped, and they will be dry hopped somewhat subtly, and they would be using hops that don't have huge presence. The idea of the cold IPA is to create the hybrid of the West Coast IPA and of the lager. So you get that clean crispness of the lager. So it's not a very complicated malt bill. It's going to be similar to the first beer, so we're going to have rice and maize and just barley in there. But then on top of that, we're going to treat it as if it's a West Coast IPA, and we're going to put hops in, quite a few in the boil to create some bitterness. And then we're going to give it a really good dry hop to get a strong hop character coming through in the beer. And we've used in this one Motuaka, which is a New Zealand hop, which is known to be citrusy, particularly limey, and another more modern New Zealand hop called Nectaron, which is like nectarines. It's supposed to be stone fruit-like, gives it a bit of a peachy-like character. So I do need to now finish this so I can drink this.
So the reason I ducked off camera there is because I mentioned we had a screen in the corner of the room. I forgot to turn the comments on. So one of the reasons I wanted the screen on was to see live comments from you guys, not so I could see me and Lee on big screen. And the first bit that came up that made me laugh then was Hazy Hayes' comment about Nanook being the husky from Lost Boys.
Actually, someone else pointed that out on Twitter. Yeah. I've only seen the Lost Boys once, and I have to admit I was quite late to the party on that one. I only saw it about 3-4 years ago. I mean, it's a cracking film, but I guess I should have seen it in the 80s when it first came around.
So, I think it's always nice to see who's joining us and a bit of a shout out, because I think Hazy Hayes joined us originally from when we had Simon and Martin on from
Real Ale Craft
Beer. And and if I remember rightly, is in America.
Who did you say we had on?
Simon and Mel.
Simon, I thought you said Simon and Martin.
I did, which is the
His surname's Martin.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Sorry, Mel.
It took me a while to cotton on. Right. I forgot to ask you all something at the start of this. So we want to go on and do a section about beers of the year. So I was supposed to tell you at the start to start thinking about what your beers of the year are. I'm just watching your reaction off camera.
West Coast.
Yeah. Not big on West Coast, right? Okay. All have a think about what your beers of the year are, and I don't mean produced by other UK producers. I mean beers produced by Brew York. What are your beers of the year? So we've asked different members of the team. And we'll probably drop some of them in shortly and maybe as we go on through tonight's session. So let us know in your comments what your beers of the year are, and then think in the room, because I might just pick you out and ask you shortly. Okay. Right. So
you saw the lager off and then no.
No, on this one. Right, so what are the thoughts then in the room? What do we think of this one? We've got a reaction over here.
Recreate it for the camera. we could have switched to audience cam for that one and saw the reaction live. Yeah, you got to recreate it now that you're on camera.
Yeah. So you're not a huge West Coast fan, so this isn't the one for you. But I think myself and Wayne are huge West Coast fans, and what got us into craft beer was the early American imports, which were all West Coast. There wasn't such a thing as an East Coast IPA. We didn't know what these juicy haze bombs were. And I think we've gone on record a number of times saying that as good as those juice bombs are, it did come about at the detriment of the West Coast. So it's nice to see that kind of style coming back around. And now we have these kind of reinterpretations of that style with the cold IPA.
It's not, for me, it's not your typical West Coast, because I prefer West Coast really piney and bitter, whereas there isn't too much bitterness in this one. Then you're getting the stone fruity flavour coming through from the Nectaron. So it's kind of a little bit more towards, it's not an East Coast beer at all, so it's not that type of modern juicy beer, but it's leaning a little bit more towards that side than the type of West Coast that we normally drink. But it's really cool, really like it, and I like the fact that it's clean with a lager yeast strain.
Yeah, the first example we did, Kairaku, would probably be a more on-point example, where it was bitter, it was kind of zingy like you described there, and that was based on a prehistoric penguin, so we've got a real theme going with this.
So we are going to do a few more cold IPAs in 2023. So if you guys can think of any cold animals, we'll have to have some sort of mammoth beer or something, woolly mammoth, a name for a woolly mammoth. I don't know.
Thinking of seal
A seal, yeah.
Seal? We're thinking a seal now.
We could do it like a joint one with our celebrities, and we could have seal on the can. See if anyone gets the link when it comes out.
What was the song he did?
Kiss from a Rose.
No,
Yeah.
that wasn't his big one. That was that was the one that. No, that was a big one, but that's not the one I'm thinking of. Killer. Killer was the big track. Yeah.
I don't know
the
Killer.
dance group.
Sing it for me, Anne.
Yeah. Kiss for a Rose was the one that was in. Was it
Batman.
Bram
Batman
Stoker?
Returns or
Batman
something like
was
that. I think it was.
why did I think that was Bram Stoker's Dracula? What was that one?
You go way off point now, yeah. So that's a cold IPA.
Yeah, makes you talk nonsense about crap films. But there you go.
But yeah, we need to keep our eye out. Pingu. Paul Jewett says Pingu. That'll be it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So beers of the year. What are you going to say, Wem?
I was just reading someone's suggestion on the screen then. Imperial Eagle, someone said. So they obviously like West Coast as well. So for me, I think I said it on the last stream we did, it wasn't the normal YouTube live stream, it was the Christmas stream, and I said it was a bit randomly, it was Diana Voss on cask. It was really enjoyable, I really liked that one. So that was our first English hopped beer with a massive dry hop of a New Zealand hop.
Nelson?
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, so something I resisted for best part 6 years was the use of English hops. There's no point calling yourself Brew York, which is meant to be like New York, which amazingly we do have to explain to a few people.
First question we got when we sat down on the table yesterday was from an American guy, and he said, Brew York, so where are you guys from then?
Yeah, well, no, but he's not to that. Why would he know our geography? So, I mean, I don't mind that. I'll humour that, but yeah. So why are you called Brew York then, and why do you make American beers? Oh, right, okay, yeah. I've completely lost my trail of thought. Beers of the year. So mine would either be. So we did the 4 silly beers for our birthday, and probably the daftest was Juice, the smoothie sour. I really loved that one. It was probably the most dangerous beer we've ever made because it did not taste like alcohol at all, and it was 8%. So either that one or the pint I had over in our Handley tap just before I came here, Big Toucan. Very, very clean, simple, absolutely not what we're known for. Dry stout, meant to be like a certain Irish stout.
So one of the things that we've got friends who are based in London called Anspach and Hobday Brewery down there, really cool brewery in the Bermondsey Beer Mile, and they've got a beer called London Black, and they brought it out maybe 18 months ago, if not longer, and their intention and their marketing plan was to displace Guinness from craft venues. So in London, there's lots and lots of craft venues, but they still feel like they need to stock a nitro stout because you always get like we always stock a lager and try and stock a bitter. You usually get somebody in the group who likes that style and they'll only drink it. So they've been really successful. I think they've got over 150 permanent stockists of their nitro stout now. So they've done a really good job, and it's by far their biggest selling beer.
Well, what I heard yesterday was so they only launched that beer in the last 2 years, and it's now 60% of everything they make.
Yeah, so it's really impressive, and we think that Big Toucan's a very good example of the same type of Irish stout, and we've done some nitro versions of it this year, and we're really pleased with it. And I think one of the things that we'd like to try and do is target northern-based customers who don't want to stock, who feel like they need to stock an Irish stout, but don't want to stock necessarily Guinness. If you know any pubs that you frequent that you think that would be a good shout for us to go and have a chat to, then we'd love to brew this beer more regularly.
If only so we can drink it.
Yeah.
Want it now?
Oh, good man.
So if you like it, there's the can version obviously is great. It's a CO2 version, so we've carbonated with carbon dioxide. The nitro version we keep talking about is nitrogenated instead, so it's got smaller bubbles, feels creamier. But we also do a cask version, so on the traditional hand pull. If you see that, try it. It's really good because it's served slightly warmer. It's a shame because we're at our production brewery now, which means we've got Hanley Tap nearby, but we're only open 2 days a week, so we can't go through that much cask beer. because we have this beer on cask and it'd be great to have had it on, but unfortunately we can't sell enough cask beer to go through it in the weekend. So we've just got to settle for the keg version, which is great, but I just think the cask version's a bit better.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it suits that style much better, particularly with the serving temperature. So I'm going to keep that to one side, and then we will announce different beers of the year from different members of the team. How about we have one from someone in the room then? Who? Do I pick someone out, or do you want to put your hand up?
Camera.
What would your beer of the year be?
Camera's not facing that way yet.
100% pear
Ah,
ice.
good shout.
Oh, nice, yeah. Yeah, 100% pear ice, which we were, of course, drinking at the last session, which was made as a tribute to my late father. And ESB, a beer he would have truly loved, although he would have told me off for the ABV.
Too strong.
It is nice.
It's really good beer.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not been on in our venue much since then, so I've not really had the opportunity to
Sold
drink
too
it again.
quickly, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It was a one. We brewed one batch of it at the original brewery site, and I think we got something like 32 firkins or something. It was really low yield, and yeah, it pretty much sold out. We saved a few for our own venues, and the rest of it sold out within a week. So it's a quick mover.
I'm going to have to go and find some.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyone else in the room?
Will you brew it again?
I would definitely do that again, yes.
It'd be cask special again. It's not the style of beer. I don't think that would suit a can. Although I'd probably get my dad and my uncle chasing me to try and get, because they're always asking me to put Maris in the can. Can Maris again? Can so
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Which one?
The tequila one.
Oh, Ghost, I mentioned the tequila barrel one. That's a niche beer.
That's-
So a Merlot stout that was aged in the tequila. I think of the two that we did, that was the one that rated lower. Because what did we do? We also did the Speyside whiskey one, was it?
Oh, that
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that was the most shocking bit because we expected to like the space side one. But
There's one I've caught on screen while I've been looking across your way, and it's from Donna. I can't read that. My eyes.
Donna Rowe
And it's just
Merriman.
disappeared.
It said Donna Rowe Merriman.
But
Glad you can remember what it said.
the beer itself was the cherry cola cubes, which I loved that beer. It was so different. I don't know what you guys thought of it. It was very Marmite-y, and some people loved it, some people hated it. It wasn't that sour, but it tasted like cherry cola, and it looked like cherry cola. And I think that, and it was probably one of our quickest selling beers this year for a sour. It just flew out. I've got a few cans in the office. I forgot to tell you that. I saved a case of it, and we'll.
I've really enjoyed that series of beers because it has posed some significant challenges. Because trying to make something dark that doesn't taste dark, so therefore it can be like cola and like doing the fruit salad one, things like
fruit
that.
salads. Yeah.
It's a really nice, if somewhat challenging thing to do.
We'll tell you about a new one coming up later, won't we? For one of our January releases, if we haven't already said that.
Actually, we have two coming up that we might be able to talk about.
It's definitely on the list to talk about later. No spoilers yet.
Right. One last one from the room. Anyone else?
I enjoyed Haysworth.
Haysworth. The beer that we brewed for a Finnish beer festival. Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah.
It was quite nice for us as well, because this festival we went to pour into Helsinki. Every brewery took, I think, 6 beers, 2 for each session. But because we brewed the beer of the festival for them, they had our beer pouring throughout the whole thing. So we had 7 beers, which was great. And it was on in the brewery bar as well. So if you wanted a break, you could go and chill out and try and pour it. The beer itself was fine, but the way that their temporary bar setup was, that every brewer who seemed to go up to the green room was just pouring a pint of foam and just like, I'll just settle for that then and let it settle out and have a little sip of beer. But yeah, let's not dwell on that.
Yeah, moving on. Right, so a couple from the team. So seeing as though we were talking about the Sweet Shop series, Alison, our HR director, we did a beer with Women on Tap. Rachel is our head of marketing, so she wasn't at the point in time that we brewed this beer.
Oh, yeah.
But we did this beer along with her organisation, and they wanted to do a pineapple cube sour. So that was Alison's favourite beer of the year, and I think that was another great example of where we took this retro thing and we did
Made it work.
create it in beer form.
Given that I'm supposed to be talking through the next beer, I think I best go to the toilet now. I don't need the toilet, but I best go now just in case.
Jeez. Is there anything more predictable than Wayne going to loo first?
These guys went first, and it made me
Alright, okay. So I'll give you one more from the team. So Nadia, who's one of our brewers, she born under peaches. And we had to check the date on this one. Turns out it was released in the very first week of January 22. So I thought it was maybe last year, but obviously we brewed it last year, but we didn't release it until this year. So that was her favourite, and that was one where we, one of the first ones we used tea in. So we used a flavoured tea to introduce the flavour into the beer. So what have we got here? Beers of the year. So suggestions we've had so far are Kirsch Russell, absolutely. Was this year the first year we released it, or was it a re-release this year? Yeah.
Is it the Kirsch Russell Maple one?
Oh, we did do the new one, the Kirsch Russell Maple, Escape from LA. Yeah, that was this year. Dua Lipa, which was done for, was that around Glastonbury time? Was that one? Yeah. Was it before that? Bowler's Dream Child, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely love that one. Nuba, well, that was a re-release. I actually forgot bringing that one back. So Coffee Bake, which is part of the Showstopper series, but not one of the ones we're going to be sampling tonight. Imperial Eagle, we've already heard about. More beers of the year. Wow. Dynavos, already mentioned. Barrel Aged HYG, previously called something I'm not allowed to say. Barrel Aged Ghost Dimension, another shout out for that one. I think we did a little session with the team maybe a month back, and we looked at all the beers we've released this year and which ones rated the highest. And I think, if I'm right, the Speyside version of Ghost Dimension was the highest rated beer that we released this year, which was a surprise because something that has chili in is somewhat of a divisive beer. But yeah, it was up there, and the tequila version that you mentioned I think was top 5. But yeah, the Speyside one was top 1. And the final one we've got is Salted Caramel Town Cocoa, which again I think was a re-release this year, but yeah, definitely one of our in-house favourites as well. So, we're moving on to our next beer. Please.
Time we on? How are we doing for time?
How are we doing for time?
Ahead for a change.
We're ahead for a change.
You can tell someone was been drinking for a couple of days.
In that case, have we got any questions in the room?
Yeah, let's go for questions first.
Have we any more questions online? No.
Can I ask you, like, when you first started with your drink, you were on about calcium in water and that. Can you change, or how do you change your water type?
Very good question. So I've just been asked off camera about what I meant about how we would change our water. So first of all, we have something called a reverse osmosis system, which is a water purification system. So if we're going to get super scientific, osmosis is when you have a barrier and you might have some salts on one side and some water on the other, and it tries to create equilibrium. So it'll try and make it so the solution or the concentration of the salt on either side of the barrier is the same. Reverse osmosis is using pressure of a pump to make it go the other way, to force it to go against what it would do naturally. So it pushes all of the salts out and you end up with just the water. So that's how we purify our water. And then at that point, you've got a complete blank canvas, and then you need to build it up. And your question was, how would you then build it up? So we have a selection of salts. Some of them will be very familiar to them. Epsom salts, magnesium sulfate.
That's what you use in the bath usually, don't you?
Yeah, you put it in your bath. I think sometimes people would have a spoonful if they had a digestive issue or whatever.
Swallow your bath water, it's easy.
And that's how you would raise the sulfate level. Nice. That's how you would raise the sulfate level. And sulfate's important when you're making hoppy beers. So if you were making a classic English IPA, that kind of thing, it was about the bitterness of the beer and the hoppiness of the beer, and high levels of sulfate in your water elevates that kind of character. If you're making one of these juicy East Coast ones, what you want is a high level of chloride. So chloride enhances mouthfeel. It makes the water in your mouth feel bigger, thicker. So you would put more chloride in. The way in which you would do that is to use calcium chloride. Another one that we would commonly use would be calcium sulfate. If you're making a dark beer, it's the alkalinity of the water that's really important. And York water, Dublin water, London water has lots of carbonate in it. And it's that alkalinity that really, really suits the dark beer profile. So unfortunately, using our reverse osmosis, we started out with the perfect water for a dark beer, and we took out what made it perfect, and then we have to put it back in. Because we have to create water that's suitable to most things rather than just that one.
And the real challenge is the fact that we have 2 giant tanks for brewing with, one's got hot water, hot liquor in it, one's got cold liquor in it, and we use them to brew the next day's beer. So as you brew in and you've boiled the liquid, you cool it down to transfer it to a fermenter, and to cool it down, basically you pump cold water through a heat exchanger, and then the hot wort passes by it on different plates, so they don't touch each other.
Counterflow.
And basically the heat exchanges from the hot wort into the water, and so you end up with a hot water byproduct, which is great because that's what we brew with the next day. But because of that, we've got to treat the water when it's cold. It goes through the heat exchange, comes out hot treated, and you have to be able to not treat the water through through the reverse osmosis. We'd have to be super ridiculously careful with our planning to make sure that the water in the tank 2 days before or 1 day before we brewed wasn't treated, to then hopefully get through to end up in the hot liquor tank to brew with at some point in the future, which is just almost impossible to do.
The dream would be to have 2 water systems. Basically one that uses the raw York water, and we'd make dark beers off that, and then one where we've completely purified the water and we'd make most of the styles with that. But each of these tanks is 14,000 litres. They're expensive, and you've got to find a place to put them. So it's not practical to do. So we do the best fit. So we strip all of the minerals out, and then we build it back up for the dark beers. All the beers.
We got another interesting question. I think the audience will all be interested in if they're our subscribers. While you were talking there, it was about the birthday party and whether there'll be any sort of discount for our subscribers. So if you aren't a subscriber, you really should be, because you'll get a discount on our birthday. But if you are, you get emailed a code every month anyway, which you can use to buy on our website. Well, that code also applies to our birthday tickets. So you can use that code. And a little bit later on, we're going to talk about changes to the subscription service. And as part of that, we'll tell you a little bit more about how you might be able to get free tickets. So keep tuned in. Yeah, spend some money.
So I just had a question come in.
About the RO.
Yeah, how much wastewater do you produce in brewing, and what do you do with it? So the RO system has obviously generated that question, reverse osmosis system. So typically using a reverse osmosis system, 2 pints of water in, 1 pint of purified water out, and the rest, they call it brine because of its higher salt content, has to go to drain. Because of its higher salt content, you can't really use it for cleaning, regrettably. We actually do blend back some of that brine back into our water, because these salts I've said that we build the beer up with, they're not expensive, but you're going to have to use a lot of them if you've dialed it all the way down. So we blend back in 25%, and then we use these salts. But I think the kind of most accepted number in the industry would be, and it's a scary number this, it's going to take 8 pints of water to make 1 pint of beer. Because we're cleaning vessels, we're cleaning casks, we're using things like reverse osmosis. Some of the ingredients like hops that we put in absorb some water, and they end up having to go to waste, etc. So yeah, you can lose quite a lot of water making 1 pint of beer. And even the best guys are still losing a lot of water.
And yeah, what we do is, so we pay a effluent charge on anything that goes down the drain. So we do pay a small amount for the water we use in the building. So every litre of water we use, we pay a small amount for, but the biggest charge comes from what you put down the drain. And the best thing about the brine, the wastewater from the RO process, is it dilutes any effluent we put down the drain. So if you have a really concentrated waste, so it could be some caustic washed off one of our tanks, which is like a detergent, yeah. and the brine blends with that to mean that the product that goes down the drain is much more diluted. So it actually helps us in the long term, but yeah, it's not ideal when there's a water shortage. Thankfully, not right now, but it is difficult to balance it out.
Okay.
So we do have another beer, don't we? Or do we?
We do, yeah. And then another nomination. Well, one of my favourites of the year. I have no name on this. Dungeons and Flagons. So one of the ones you've got in your box this time around.
So Dungeons and Flagons, I'm going to have to tell you it because it was just a very interesting suggestion, but and it caught Polly by surprise in the audience when I told her the name the other day. But when we decided to work with, or got the opportunity to work with York Dungeons, they'd just been in the press for the Dick Turpin ride at the at the dungeon, and they'd had a complaint that they shouldn't be using the word dick in a kid's ride, rather than absolutely ridiculous because the name's been used forever and it's an abbreviation of Richard. So a little bit silly, but the first name that they suggested we should call our collaboration beer was Dick Slurpin. So we vetoed that pretty rapidly. I think it might even have been Ant who came up with the Dungeons and Flagons name.
Do you know what I'm finding really funny? Do you remember when we did this session last month? And you went to extreme lengths to not mention that name.
Did I?
Yeah.
I hadn't been on back of 2 days of drinking before the last session. Yeah, it was a very, very interesting choice of name, but yeah, we decided that we couldn't use that.
Yeah, for reasons I'm hoping we don't have to explain.
Yeah. So the third beer, how are we doing for time? I think we'll be back on track now, an hour in.
Right, well, while you describe that one, I'm going to nip to the loo.
Your second trip to the loo. Oh, if you won't have seen because we were off camera then, but just as it started, Lee went. So yeah, the first third beer, not the first. The third beer, but the first of the series of the collabs we did with the guys from Funky Fluid and Elm 11 and Nerd, is the Plum Cake. So it's actually a sour beer. A kettle. Typically, I think we've mentioned this before because we did a beer called Red Light, Green Light, which is the first time we did the process that we used for this beer, which is souring slightly differently. So we did a co-fermentation, and I think Lee went to through the technical details of this last time. But basically, we use two different yeast strains. We ferment the beer we brew the beer as normal, and then we ferment it, and we use the hops in the dry hop to kill off the actual lactobacillus activity, the strain of yeast we don't want. So this is the second time we brewed a beer like this. The plum cake piece comes from the fact that we used a bit of plum concentrate in the beer. It's apparently a quite popular dessert in Poland. So the plum cake, it's yeah, plum's not typically a fruit I eat one of them I eat a lot of, but I tasted this beer for the first time the day we launched it in the tap room, and I was really pleased with it. It turned out really well. So first time tasting a can, so hopefully it's just as nice from the can. Yeah, no, it's really cool. I get a bit of a cinnamon kick to it as well. So the plum itself, I said it's a concentrate. So basically, the supplier we buy off takes the plum, and they basically get rid of all the liquid from the plum, and we buy it concentrated, which gives us a really intense flavour from a smaller quantity of ingredient. On top of that, we've put some dry hops in there. So we've used Eldorado, which gives you a stone fruit type of flavour, and then yeah, that killed off the yeast that was in the beer.
So where have we got to with this one?
Plum pits.
Oh, plum pits, right. So the reason we would use tonka in a beer like this is plum pits, the stone that you get in stone fruit, has something called, I'm going to have to read it, amygdalin, which has a substance called hydrogen cyanide in, and you'll be familiar with cyanide. So cyanide's poisonous. So it can be kind of dangerous. But if you use this ingredient in the right way, the pit of a plum or a peach or a nectarine can create a rather marzipan, almondy-like character. And do you know where I learned this? Do you remember, Polly?
On the spot.
When we went to the old Black Swan, Tommy Banks's place. Oh, in Oldstead, yes. So they had a dessert on their menu where they'd used the stone of a plum and they'd made it taste like marzipan. So that's where I learned that you can create this kind of flavour with that type of thing. And of course, tonka does that. So because it's a constituent part of the plum, it ends up being a very complementary flavour. So we've used... sorry, my mum laughing off camera. I'm a clever lad. Right, okay, thank you. So yeah, that's why we would use it in there. But obviously you have to be careful using plum pits. I'm not saying go out and start mashing these things up and make cakes. You may kill yourself, so go careful.
So one of the things that we've done in this beer is slightly different to when we brought out pastry sours in the past. So if we're making a cake-based beer, typically it'd be a pastry sour where we use a load of lactose to get a nice thick body. Did I say the other word then by accident? A nice thick body, a bit of vanilla to get the balance off the flavour, and you get something that's sour but really enjoyable and balanced. So this is actually a vegan-friendly beer, so it's super rare for Brew York. Vegan-friendly beer for a change. And what we've done with this beer...
Well, until we tell you about next month, which you'll be hearing about soon.
So what we've done with this beer to get this similar flavour profiles, but to keep it vegan, is we've used candy floss or maltodextrin, which is a sugar that you use to make candy floss. So it gives you it doesn't ferment in this. It doesn't ferment full stop, does it? No, it does. It does ferment, but it leaves residual sugars.
Maltodextrin is dextrinous sugars. You know, really long chain sugars, too big for yeast to be able to ferment. So they end up being in the final beer, which makes it sweeter and it makes it thicker.
So the reason I picked up the can is because we've got a few prompts to talk about the different ingredients, but there's all sorts in this beer that isn't on the prompt. So there's lemon in the beer as well. So
for many of our fruit beers, we would put lemon zest into the boil. Lemon's a very good enhancer of other flavour characteristics.
And then the other bit that's pretty interesting is the beetroot powder.
And then the beetroot powder is in to make it look like that. Because there is a misconception that plums are purple. They're not. The skin's purple. Yeah. Whereas the flesh is kind of yellowy, isn't it, really?
So yeah.
But to make you get what you think you're going to be getting, we've used some beetroot powder, which doesn't come across flavour-wise, but it does. It's not entirely purple, but I think that meets the expectation of plum.
And one of the big contributions to flavour, weirdly, is it's more psychological, but the visual element of it. So smell's a huge part, more than what your tongue actually tastes. But the visual part of it, if you see something that's like a black IPA, black in colour, you completely expect a different flavour profile to when you drink it. And very similarly, if this was a pale beer and we said it was a plum cake, it'd probably get a very different perception or response to it.
The classic and well-reported example is they have given people white wine that they have dyed red. And people taste berries, strawberries, blackberries, that kind of thing. Even though it's not remotely there, people taste what they expect to taste because of the appearance of something, which is why it's nice to create, like when we're saying the black IPA, the paradoxes, and really screw with people's minds.
So interesting one there, I just spotted a comment from Alan Smith, and this beer actually doesn't have cinnamon in, does it? It's the tonka, or has it? Did we use cinnamon in the boil? In the mash, sorry.
It would be declared on the ingredients if we did.
No, it's not. It's not on the ingredients. But I do get a bit of cinnamon. I thought it had cinnamon in, but is that just a tonka?
No, you can get that kind of character from tonka. So yeah, I would think it would be that doing that.
I like cinnamon in the right quantities in a beer. So take our what's the best one that we do cinnamon? Probably.
Well, we've done a few this year.
Best one would be Kirsch Russell.
Kirsch Russell, yeah.
When you have cherry pie, you typically have a bit of cinnamon sprinkled on it, so it kind of brings that flavour profile that you expect. On this one, I've never had a Polish plum cake. I don't know if you guys have, but the guys from Funky Fluid were pretty helpful in coming up with the ingredients for this. So that's where what we based it on. Hopefully, you guys like it.
I really love what we've done with this one. I don't know what element of the science Wayne touched on while I was out of the room, but I love what we've done with this approach, where we're taking two different types of bacteria and we're combining it with the yeast, and all of them like to operate at a body-like temperature, and they're all trying to do conflicting things. Like, so one of your lactose is trying to create this complexity, one of them is just trying to make it sharp and drop the pH, and then you've got your Greek yeast, which just wants to do everything it can as fast as it possibly can. But in doing so, creates nice fruity and floral characteristics as well. So I really like this style. I hope it's something we can do a bit more with in 2023. But yeah, I think maybe next a big fruit one rather than something that's a little bit more delicate like the plum. See what that can do with it. Maybe guava next. I just love putting guava in sours. And we've not done that in a while, have we? A blackcurrant sour.
Snake bites.
Have you
Blackcurrant
seen
and
the
apple
price of
blackcurrant.
blackcurrant at the minute? Are you paying? Right. Yeah, unfortunately, some of our decisions do need to be economically based. Right. Apparently, you all need to start collecting blackberries, and you're all going to crush them for us. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That'll add some extra bacteria. Some feet crushed blackcurrant.
They're very expensive.
So,
Blackcurrant.
fruits in particular, in the last year or two, have really gone up. So the first thing that drove that was Brexit. So the people who would have picked the fruits in the country obviously left. I say obviously, that might not be obvious. So all the fruit became more expensive from the get-go. There's then been conditions that led to poorer harvests. And then we've had all the other things that are driving economic pressure, like Putin's war and all these other things. So some fruits have gone up like 400–500% in the last like 1–2 years, to the point where we can't work with them now. Raspberries, for example, I could not work with a raspberry in a concentrated form because if you knew the price, you wouldn't pay it. So there's no point in us putting it in a beer.
Your margins very high to get the money back.
Yeah, if I put enough raspberry in a beer so it tasted like raspberry, and that was the real predominant character, you would not be willing to pay the price that would cost you. So there's no point in me making that beer. So there are certain ingredients we have to discount the use of, and there's been a few fruits over the last year or two that has been a case for.
It's a shame because it could be good beers.
Yeah, it is a shame. There could be good beers, but hopefully in years to come, things swing back. We no longer have a Russian megalomaniac trying to kill everyone. And then, things open up. Maybe we even rejoin Europe, who knows? Right, so we need to tell you about the new subscription service. So I think for subscribers, you got something in your pack. So I think that details some of the aspects of it. But what we've really tried to do here is to create a bigger community, to create a better bonded community. We recognise with the cost pressures out there at the minute that where we were might not be the right thing for you. But for some of you, you might want a little bit more. So we wanted to create other options. So you can still do the YouTube 4. So there's a Explorer pack, or you can carry on broadly as the current level is, which is the member pack, or you can get some enhanced options and you can become a gold member. So Wayne, do you want to talk through a couple of those?
So
not a couple of them, maybe all three.
Yeah. Well, either or, but it was all based on the feedback we got from you guys, and thanks to everyone who took the time to fill out the survey. So one of the key things that we heard was, or recurring themes, was about the fewer core beers, please, or can we have a premium option? Can we pay a little bit more and get the guaranteed access to certain beers? So what we did is we took the core membership package and we reduced the price slightly, And to be able to do that, what we did was we, which might be a little bit controversial, but we got rid of the regular gifts. So it's getting quite hard to come up with new ideas for gifts because you can't put T-shirts in because everyone's a different size. You can't put, and all these things come with logistical challenges of obviously having hundreds of subscribers and trying to match up the gifts to the box. So made the equivalent package to what most of you guys, well, what all you guys are on right now, made it a little bit cheaper, and I've also brought in the option to be able to collect it yourself from Handley Tap. So save a little bit on delivery if that's an option available to you.
If you happen to be local, probably not that cost effective if you're coming in from Scotland.
Well, yeah. And then what we tried to do is the rest of the pack is pretty much the same for the standard membership. So the only difference is that where we've occasionally put in a State of Mind beer into your pack, that won't happen anymore. So that's probably obviously something that a lot of you guys probably won't like as much. But the reason we put a State of Mind beer in is because we haven't had as much choice to choose from before. And so sometimes when we haven't had enough beers available, we put a State of Mind beer in, and it comes at a cost to us, but we're happy to do. We've been happy to do that. But the standard membership won't have that anymore. So that's one of the negatives, I guess. All the other things will remain pretty much the same, so you'll still be able to you get your magazine, you'll get your different early access to different events and things we do.
If I could add though, they won't be in your box, but you will get early access to them and you will get discount off them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we'll always make sure that subscribers get early access to things and discounted pricing on them to make sure that if you did want them, you wouldn't have to necessarily subscribe to our gold membership. You could stay as a standard member and you could just choose as and when you want them, add them to your order. But we also realise that there's a lot of people out there who've paused their membership because of lots of different pressures. One, being back out in the pubs again and then not necessarily drinking as much at home. And then we've had people who want to obviously save a little bit of money and not necessarily spend £30+ a month on beer. So we brought in a more accessible pack, and that's going to have the YouTube beers plus a couple of extra beers in, and that's a little bit cheaper. That's £23 a month, and again, you can collect that from the web store, or sorry, from the Handley Tap. But it's going to have a few more restrictions. It's not going to have access to, you'll still have access to the birthday, but you won't have discounted access to things like the birthday. You won't have the web shop discount and the venue discount that you get if you're a standard member, but you'll still be able to guarantee you'll get the beers for YouTube and things like that. And then we've brought in the gold membership, so that's the premium tier. So in addition to everything you get now as a standard member, you'll get a few extra beers per month. You'll get 12 cans instead of the 9. You're going to get State of Mind releases as well as the regular and special releases that come out. We'll put the Christmas beers into the gold membership pack, as well as what else is going in there? The YouTube live audience. Sorry, I didn't mention this. So at the moment, if you want to be part of the audience, you can. You just let us know. Going forwards, you still can be part of the audience, but there'll be a small fee to cover the cost of the beers. But if you're a gold member, you'll get the access to the YouTube live session free. You'll also get you will still get a gift actually, sorry, for standard membership as well as gold membership, but it's just once a year. So we'll recognise we'll put a special prize, special gift out once a year to thank you for your loyalty. Birthday party, if you're a gold member, you'll get free tickets. So nice perk there. You'll continue to get discount as a gold member, and you'll also. Oh, the other bit I didn't mention actually was the January party.
Yes, which we actually have a date for now. We will be reiterating this later on, but 20th of January, is that right?
20th of January is the correct date, yeah. So anyone who's either a standard member or gold member will get free entry to the member party. So it isn't a festival per se. We won't be inviting the general public. It'll just be our subscribers. Opportunity to come down to the original tap room, not coming up to Handley. At the original tap room, we're going to do a little bit of a members gathering, so you can all have a few beers together, have a bit of socialising. We'll obviously, it's a Friday, so Ant's reminded us it's a Friday. So it's Friday the 20th of January. So it'll be a little bit of a membership party. and yeah, a chance to grab some beers and meet a lot of your other subscribers. Because one of the things we found at our birthday was that a lot of you guys all wanted to sit together, catch up, and chat about things that you all have in common. Things like the chatting on the Facebook groups. It's nice to put a name to a face. So we thought it'd be quite cool to do a little Christmas sort of party.
I think it's something that I'm a real big fan of. It used to be Stephen Martin that did the Beer O'Clock show. Now it's Steve and a couple of other guys doing the beer longing thing. But one thing they did really well was they created a community. And then 2 times a year they'd meet up. They do like a summer thing, a summer sesh, and then a winter party. And I think it's great to see how well you all interact together online. But I think we need to create the opportunity for you to physically come together and to get to put some faces to this interaction. So yeah, the first opportunity to do that is going to be Friday, the 20th of January. And there'll be more aspects to that, but we will confirm that in time.
And I think by drinking my first 3 beers so fast, I'm going to do a double toilet trip.
Again, massively unexpected.
Over to you for questions on the subscription boxes.
Oh, geez, don't give me questions on the subscription boxes. This is the first time I'm seeing some of the details of it.
Can we collect the gold ones from here as well?
Any option could be collected from here if you want to serve yourself the postage, yes. So yeah, this is the first time I'm seeing some of this level of detail, and it's presented here in a big table. I hope this is what you got in your mail-outs. So if you have any questions, I suggest you email info@brewyork.co.uk, because I think I'm probably not best placed to answer them right now. I'd just be looking at this table and trying to see if I can match it up. So I'm watching from New York. Any bars/breweries you recommend, Wendy? That is awesome, Wendy. Yeah, welcome and greetings from the UK. We have a friend who is on Twitter under the name Brew York. It'd be pretty obvious why we came to know about him, and I believe he's from New York State somewhere. So yeah, welcome, awesome. And any other beers or breweries I would recommend. Generally, I presume you mean in the UK. Wow, this is all going to be about who I don't name now, isn't it? So it depends on what you're looking for, Wendy. If you want really good sours, I'd say the best in the UK, apart from ourselves, of course, is going to be Vault City. If you want really good stouts in the UK, I'd probably go to maybe Wander Beyond, if not us. If you like DAS stouts like we do, that is. And then if you're after pale beer in the UK, there's lots of contenders. I guess the big names up there are going to be your Verdants, your Dayers, your Wylam's, those kind of guys. And of course, Northern Monk. And now I've just offended lots and lots of people by not mentioning them. So thank you for that opportunity, Wendy. How do you use tea in making beer? And that's from Ian. So there are a number of ways in which you can use it. So you can use it in the hot side of the production. So when you are mashing your grain or when you are doing the boil in the kettle, the concern there is you're going to extract tannins. So if you've made a cup of tea at home and you've left that tea bag to stew for too long, and you get all of that brown guck that coats the side of the cup, that's all the tannins. So hot exposure of tea pulls out tannins. Tannins not necessarily a great thing. And it can even cause headaches. So you don't really want a lot of tannins. So the way in which we tend to use tea is we create the beer. We then move it over to the packaging stage at a cold temperature, or maybe even slightly before then. We make sure all the alcohol's produced, and then we would have an infusion vessel. A little vessel that's kind of got a filter in either side, and we put the tea in there, and then we cycle the beer across the tea, and it pulls out the flavour from the tea. And yeah, we've done it really to good effect using a strawberry and cream flavoured tea before, and we've done it really well with a peach flavoured tea before. And possibly some others, but that's all I'm remembering.
No, the only 2 teas I can think of.
Yeah.
And when we do, so far when we've used tea in a beer, we've used a local tea company called the Hebden Tea Company. We've gone in and talked about what we're trying to get from the beer, what we're trying to get from the tea to try and make the flavours combine. and they've been really, really helpful in helping us. Keep repeating words, don't I? Helping us find the different flavour combinations that we want to infuse into the beer. So really good company to know, and they've got a shop on the Shambles in York, one of the famous streets, and I'm guessing they're based in Hebden Bridge.
One would have to assume, yes. You're going to have to answer this one because I can't. Who came up with the names for the new tiers? Actually, now I've said it,
What were the names? The one that we had in front of us wasn't very like.
We had member, gold member, and what was the other one?
Wasn't
Explorer.
Wasn't Austin Powers, was it, with gold member?
I hope not. We think it was probably our head of marketing, Rachel. But yeah.
23 one was 30, one was 43, wasn't it?
The pricing tiers. I'll have came up with the pricing, but yeah.
He'll definitely improve. Right, final question before we move on to our final beer. Any plans to bring back Black Eagle? Is this from Andy from Elusive?
so
Andy's eternal mission to get the Black IPA to come back.
So we personally love that beer. So one of the things that we always struggle to do is sell hoppy dark beers. So despite that, anyone who likes Black Eagle will probably be pleased to know that Kiwi's coming back, which is a hoppy brown ale in cask only. So it's just been racked in cask. So if you like it, you'll have to find a venue that's going to stock it in cask, and we can share the details of who's bought it so that you can pop down and see them. But yeah, it's a great beer, but we always struggle to sell it in cans for some reason because there's only geeks like us who seem to want to buy cans of it. So every time we do a hoppy red ale or stout or black IPA, we seem to be sat on the stock for quite a while. So we're very cautious when it comes to rebrewing things like that.
Well, yeah, styles I love to brew are things like export stouts, India export stouts, red IPAs, brown ales, but unfortunately when we've made these things, they've not sold very well. So if you can all promise to buy them, maybe he'll let me make some more of them.
And it's nothing to do with the quality of the beers, because to be honest with you, all these beers, the Red Danson, a great example of a hoppy red West Coast IPA. They always get great feedback and great reviews, but they just don't seem to move quick enough. Whereas obviously a hoppy pale beer sells very rapidly, and then we do a Cola Cube sour and it sells rapidly, and we do a style everyone knows, a black IPA, and it doesn't seem to sell very quickly. So we've got to be careful because we don't want these beers to be sat around for more than maybe 2 months at the longest before, because in that 2 month period we've probably brought out another 8 beers.
Yeah, because what we need to bear in mind is if we've had it for 2 months, then the shops you're buying it from have maybe had it for a few months as well. And we don't want to get to the point where, you're thinking that we're not doing our job right, or the person you're buying your beer from is not keeping it right. We need to make sure the beer's turning over quickly. So unfortunately, styles like that commercially are not making sense, which it hurts me as much as it probably hurts all you guys, because they're some of my favourite beers.
Are they getting better?
Right.
Are they getting better?
Do they get better with age?
No. Are the sales getting better?
Oh, the sales getting better,
Of those particular styles?
People accepting it now.
Sorry, the question for anyone at home is, are the sales getting better? Are people more accepting of those styles? I think they are, but we're also getting bigger. So as a brewery, if we brew a batch at the kit behind us, it's so many more to sell. And I think the percentage of our customers is still proportionate. So when we were brewing it on the smaller kit in Warmgate, I don't know, say quarter of our customers bought that style of beer, whereas 100% would buy a pale beer. And it's kind of the same here. So we brew a big batch and still only a quarter of them are buying that style of beer. So it takes longer to sell through. Got another audience question?
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Would that beer sell better at a certain season or a certain point of the year?
So we've just been asked if those type of beers would sell better at a particular point in particular season of the year, and they would sell better, but they might not necessarily sell well enough for them to make sense still, unfortunately. I'd love to, as I've said, make more of these beers. I'll be doing what I do every Christmas. I'll be getting a box of Kernel beers in because these types of beers that we're talking about is what Kernel does really, really well. And I think we can make beers that would rival them for quality for these types of styles. But unfortunately, people expect our beers to have marshmallow in or toffee or something daft like that. So I think we can do those styles really well, and maybe if you guys buy them in enough numbers, we get to do that again in the future. But for now, unfortunately, we have to park those kind of styles because they're just going to sit on the shelf too long.
So Ian Hay made a comment then. He wants a level of subscription called the Cheers level of subscription, and it's 12 cans of Red Dancing.
I thought you wanted us to create a bar where everybody knows your name.
Yeah. Kirsty Alley died the other day, didn't she?
She did? Oh, yeah, unfortunately true. She was like in her 70s though. It's weird, isn't it, when someone you've like known, well not known, but
One of your mates.
seen on the telly from that young age, and you're like, yeah, well anyway.
I always think of Look Who's Talking. Kirsty, I'm pretty sure Kirsty Alley was in that.
No, she was. She was. Yeah, no, because on Twitter, John Travolta was saying about what a brilliant friend she was. Yeah.
John Travolta played the baby in Look Who's Talking.
Yeah, I don't think so. Okay. Maybe
He did the voice, didn't he? I'm pretty sure he did the voice for
Oh, bloody hell, he did actually, didn't he?
Because that was me joking, but actually I think he did, yeah.
No, he did, yeah. How about we revisit the topic of beers of the year then?
Yeah, who else has put one in?
Right, well, Pete and Ant, we've not heard yours yet. I've got them written in front of me.
Pam?
I've got them in front of me, but see if you can remember what you told us. Clever Gal. So Ant's is Clever Gal, which was East Coast style beer we made earlier in the year. One of former brewer Josh's recipes, was it? Oh, yeah. Collab with Neil Raptor. Yeah. And Pete, for you? Obi-Wan Cannoli.
Ooh, that was nice.
Yeah. So beer we brought out for May the 4th. Year just gone, and we'll be making a return appearance for Star Wars Day this coming year.
Yeah, we'll be back. One of the few returns. So Clever Gal is a really cool beer actually, because it was the first of a slightly different style of pale ale that we started doing this year, and it was on the back of one of Josh's recipes, but we did a few different iterations of the same base malt bill with different hops. I can't think of any off the top of my head that lead on from it, but I think even Diana Voss was loosely based on that same crystal.
Well, there's another one that's actually come up twice, Captain Strata versus the Nectarons.
Yeah, that's a cool one.
So that's been nominated by John, who's our cellar manager, and also been nominated by another John, funnily enough, who is our director of bar operations.
So John's, it was John's input into the hop combination, wasn't it? Cellar manager John.
Yeah.
So the Strata and the Nectaron was
No. I think we'd come up with the Strata and the Nectaron, and we were struggling for the name, and he came up with the name.
Right.
I think was the idea. Yeah. Oh, and on that, we have joining us
Jerry Anderson TV.
Yeah, so Jerry Anderson TV, who did Thunderbirds, who did Captain Scarlet, etc. They're coming to visit.
Terrorhawks. Fucking hell. Yeah. So this, when we posted the teaser for this beer, we hadn't even released a name or anything, and they posted a message to us straight away on Twitter saying that looks interesting.
Yeah.
And
it's amazing the doors that beer can open, isn't it?
So they, it turns out they were really receptive of the beer, and we sent them a case to say give it a try, and they loved it. And they're coming down to visit us, and we're going to give a tour of the brewery, have a few beers, and I think we've got the date confirmed.
Well,
They've not responded to
right, we're working on the date. Yeah. They've said they want to come. We've given them some date options. We're waiting to hear back. Yeah.
And if they bring that Zelda puppet, I'm going home.
You're going to just go and cry in the corner. Right. So
I like that one. We've got a comment, a question from Derek, or a comment from Derek. The best gifts are more beer.
Yeah, well, more power to you, Derek. Right. Oh, this is a very good question. You can answer this one first. What is Wayne and Lee's favourite thing about the subscription box from the very start?
I think for me, so if we go back to before we officially made a subscription box, when we were just doing a selection of multiple beers to put into to put out to you guys to do a talk on, it was slightly different. It was a slightly different time when we were all locked in and we weren't quite sure what was going on. We then started putting together a box of beers that we wanted to talk through, and then once we did them, it was nice to then to try and make it more of a formal thing. So we weren't really thinking too much of it then. We then created what's now Drinking Outside the Box. And then the best thing about it is 100% meeting you guys when we're out and about at festivals, and the stories we heard, that things that people were saying, oh no, you guys helped us get through lockdown. We didn't realise how much of an impact it had, because for us that's what we were doing it for. We weren't getting out and about anymore. We weren't seeing people. We weren't interacting with customers. We were just trying to get beer produced, canned, and out and sold. And it was our little release during lockdown. We got to sit down, have a few beers, talk about beer again, and it was great to hear that you guys liked it. You were interacting with us, talking about stuff, and we got a nice following from it. And then to hear people come up to us and tell us at festivals how rewarding it was, it made it all worthwhile. And like, we could have stopped this as soon as pubs opened again, but we wanted to continue it because you guys still like to join us and talk to us about beer. So we want to keep doing it because it's still rewarding for us. So yeah, that's...
I think, Wayne, you put that beautifully, very succinctly, and I don't have a better answer. What you have said there is the exact answer I was going to come up with. To be at those festivals and to have people come up to us, and we didn't appreciate it at the time. We're just a couple of guys that make beer that decided to do a little thing on camera to make sure we could sell beer through a period that was incredibly difficult on all of us. And to be approached at these festivals and to say that we actually made a difference, when, like Wayne said there, it also made a difference to us, because we would have been in our homes going stir crazy. We got a Friday night out because we got to come and film this. So yeah, it was huge for us, and it was great to see that it also had an impact for you guys. So I don't think there has been, and I don't think there will ever be a better reason than what we did through that period.
Yeah, and that's the... It's one of the things we didn't appreciate, and we didn't do it for that. We did it to try and get that interaction again with our customers. But it's been great to have a loyal fan base now who, if we bring something out, we can send you guys the advanced preview of it, and you kind of give us instant feedback. We get pretty much straight away. You tell us whether you like something or you don't. We get the fact that we can, like, have a chat at the bar. We'll be sitting at the bar, and a lot of you guys will come and talk to us and tell us, what you'd like us to do more of, what you'd like to do less of. So it's really opened the door to getting more direct feedback. And like I say, we don't do this we don't give up our Fridays once a month to continue doing this, because we have to. We do it because we want to. We really enjoy doing it. We like talking to you guys. We like drinking beer, obviously, but we like the interaction. It's really rewarding. So that's what it's all about for us.
Do you know what's almost as good as drinking beer? Talking about beer. Almost, but not
almost.
quite.
No.
Right. But anyway, nice question. Thank you. Whoever sent that one, and I forgot.
I'm too busy drinking the rum Sundae to think about that.
Yeah, now we're on to our final beer, and it's one we've both definitely been looking forward to, isn't it?
Yeah, I had a sneak preview of this a couple of weeks back in the tap room when it was on, and I wasn't expecting... Yeah, I won't say too much. You talk about it, and then I'll give you my thoughts on it.
I'm going to say right from the get-go, thank you to our friend, Stu Nielsen over at North Riding Brewery in Scarborough, because he was the guy that introduced me to the rum and raisin stout. He makes one, and he introduced me to the company from which he got his flavourings, and it was a company that supplied the ice cream manufacturers, and I thought it was an incredible flavour that he'd put into a stout. It's a beer, I don't think he does it all the time, but he does it like maybe once, twice a year, and it's a beautiful stout, always on cask, and he probably should have done what we've done, which is elevate it to this kind of level of alcohol. So first of all, I need to...
Stu doesn't keg. So Stu's,
well, he doesn't keg,
cask.
so yeah.
The 12% cask is a little bit...
That might be a difficult seller, so I think we do need to acknowledge Stu's contribution to this beer. He is the big inspiration behind this for me. But beyond that, it was also a collab with Nerd from Sweden. And Nerd, as we learned when when Chad was with us 2 months ago, There are 3 different breweries. Overall, they're called molecules, and then the 3 different breweries under molecules do different beers. Nerd does the stouts, Elm 11 does the sours, and Chad does the pale and lagers. So this was done with Hannah's, who runs Nerd, which is the stout part of the business. And we went backwards and forwards, and we were trying to come up with all these ideas. And originally, we were trying to do something. Well, what's like we'd done with the Polish beers? We were trying to think, well, what is a distinctly Swedish kind of dessert style? What would really work? And we went backwards and forwards, and then it was actually Hannah's, that came up with, well, what about a rum and raisin thing? I was like, oh, you want to go that direction? I know a man. I think I know what we could do with this. So that's how we decided to do this. And yeah, I have to say, I'm really enjoying this.
I love this beer. The beer that Stu did, the rum and raisin stout, which is, I don't know, lowish 5 or 4 and a bit % cask beer, was a great beer. And like Lee said, it would have been great to have had that amped up version from North Riding. But there's only so much cask Imperial stouts you can sell. We do it every now and then, but it's quite hard to sell a batch of that strength beer in that format. But I'm glad we did this, because it's my style of... I actually didn't realise how much I like rum and raisin until I started drinking this. And the guys at Nerd have done some amazing things with stouts. They do a 36-hour boil or something stupid like that, where they keep the kettle boiling and boiling, evaporate as much liquid or water off as possible to leave a really, really concentrated, even like the burnt kettle.
Not just concentrated. If you think about how we might add lactose in, and it makes it have that residual sweetness and thickness, the more you boil sugars, the more they bond, and the bigger those molecules become, and then the less fermentable they become. So boiling something longer is another way of making something sweeter. So they boil it and they boil it and they boil it, and then what they end up with is this thick, gloopy stuff that only so much of the sugar left in it the yeast can ferment. So that's one trick that we picked up from them. Well, not just from them. And they also used a larger amount of the bits that make this dark. The caramel type malts, the brown malts, the roasted malts. And it was a little bit counterintuitive for me, because when you make a normal stout, you'll have a certain percentage of that stuff that you use. And then when you make a big stout, what they say, like if you're trying to make these styles of beers, is you don't increase the proportion of those things. What you do is you increase the bit that's contributing the sugar. Because if you keep adding in the bits that create the darkness, the roasty character, it becomes too astringent, it becomes too intense. But Hannah's said, ignore what they said, we're just going to elevate those things anyway. We're going to kind of up and up and up. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go against my instincts with this. I'm going to do what you said. And we went with that, and I don't think that's astringent. I don't think the roast character in that is too big. I think I was right to listen.
Yeah.
I could have easily overruled, but I think, yeah, that absolutely made sense.
A 12% beer that drinks that easy it's a new danger beer, isn't it? Yeah, no, really, really pleased with this. I've missed one off. I think it was Alan Smith who said, any plans for a barrel-aged version?
Well, what did we
Funny
walk
you
past
should say
earlier,
that,
guys? Can we do audience cam? We have audience cam. What did we walk past earlier on the way here?
Barrels.
So we walked past, and you were getting some inside interest, weren't you? We spotted some barrels that said Rum Sundae, and what did those barrels say on them? Rum.
Rum.
So we have.
Does it say Rum Sundae?
No,
What else did the barrels say on them? What were they? What barrels were they?
Let's not go.
Yeah, it was Rum Sundae in them. What was on the barrels?
Can't hold me.
I've had some 12% beer, sorry.
Yeah, I can tell. I can tell.
80% straw.
All right, let's just draw a line under this. So we have some Rum Sundae aging in rum barrels next door. And it is plantation rum, which is a golden rum. I really wanted it to be a dark rum, but at the point at which we were acquiring the barrels, we couldn't get dark rum barrels. All we could get was golden rum barrels. But I'm sure it'll still do a job. So yeah, around about a year from now, you will get the barrel-aged version of this.
Gold subscribers.
Yeah, oh yeah. Or a discount code for everyone else.
And about 6 months in, we plan to pop some raisins in there. And then it will spend the second 6 months aging on raisins as well. So it'll be rum and raisin with rum and raisin.
Nice.
Yeah, we should
Raise the
come up with a
score.
good name for that. Rum and raisin squared. No, that's. I almost did the first of the night. I'm not going to do that. Yeah, we can come up with a better name for that. After all, we are known for our naming, are we
You don't
not?
drink it very quick. Do you not like it?
Bloody hell, man.
I didn't pour all mine in. You poured all yours in at once, but yeah.
Jeez, I know it's good. But
Yeah, as it warms up, it should get even better. Like we said at the start, but you'll get a lot more flavours coming through. You'll be able to taste a lot more of the dark malts. So you'll get lots of different benefits of the beer warming up. So
that's too easy for something.
yeah,
that's
hold it in your
12%.
hand. So currently question mark score on Untapped. I think it was about 4.15.
I forgot to update
earlier
it.
today when I
There is another thing we did with this slightly differently. So back when we were talking about the Plum beer, we talked about a yeast called a Kvike yeast. Nobody actually knows how you pronounce that, so there isn't a right way. It's a Norwegian heritage yeast that likes to ferment at silly temperatures. So normal ale yeast, about 20 degrees C. This type of thing, 35 to 40 degrees C. So it means it can do its job really, really quickly, and it contributes different types of flavour, and it can make a beer bigger and fruitier. And what I'd never done before until this point, and on the recommendation of Hannah's, was to make a dark beer with one. I've never done that. So he said, if you do it with this and you bring the temperature down, you won't get those big fruity characteristics, but you'll get a really clean fermentation. So we use that type of yeast that likes a temperature of about 37 to 40, and we did it at 22. And that's how we ended up with this. And I think, yeah.
And it likes
Hannah's,
a strong, well, it's tolerant, isn't it? Really tolerant yeast, so high ABV.
if you look on Untapped and you look at the highest rated stout breweries in Europe, you'll find that Nerd is up there. They're probably top 5. And I think deservedly so, because he's taught me a few things. And they are counterintuitive. They're things that I didn't necessarily think would work. And I hope that my stout game now goes on and gets better off the benefit of the back of working with him. And that's why we do these collabs.
Yeah,
Some of it's to meet your friends and have a drink, isn't it? But some of it is to actually learn.
So someone put a comment on earlier. I spotted it. And it said, "Are you not concerned sometimes when you do a collab that you're giving away not secrets, but you're helping other people or helping your competition?" But it's not necessarily like that for us, and it is strange to say it, but we'd rather help other breweries be better and sell more beer than macro breweries sell more beer, and we genuinely learn something from every single collaboration we do.
Yeah.
And it might be something really, really small and simple, like who do you buy your glassware from? Oh, we can save a bit of money by buying our glassware from them. Or it might be something really helpful for the production where we find a yeast that we've never even considered. But we teach each other different things, and part of the fun about going down to brew with Big Smoke this week was that we just spent about 2 hours in the office just chatting and talking about different ideas and different things we've been doing recently, and then we're sharing the same thing so we can help each other be better at what we do.
Yeah, honestly, we are privileged to work as part of an incredible industry. Like somebody said this to me yesterday. We're at this kind of
SSV. Sam.
Yeah, we're at this trade event, and he said he works with dairy, he works with distillation, he makes or imports stainless steel vessels. And he said, I work with all these different companies, pharmaceuticals, the lot, and I work with beer. And the only people that are willing to get in the room together and have these kind of conversations are beer. Because to everybody else, it's the competition. But we don't view each other like that.
No.
It really is a very collaborative effort. And at the end of the day, if I thought somebody had questionable ethics or ethos when it comes to brewing, I wouldn't be working with them. If we are working with them, it means we've made a judgment, we've decided we can trust them, and therefore I'm more than happy to let them see anything that we have here, to talk about any production practice that we have. Because I know if I went to their brewery, they would do likewise for me. But it is truly, truly a unique industry. Honestly, you have to be part of this industry to understand how unique it is. I can't imagine there being anything else where people would do that, where they would open the doors like that.
It is a bit surreal because we were at this industry event and then dinner yesterday, and we spent probably the first 40-45 minutes without actually doing anything trade related, because all we were doing was hugging and greeting other breweries. And it's just really nice to have that where they're technically our competitors, but all we want to do is just welcome them and say hello and catch up with them, because we don't see it like that way. We all want everyone else to succeed. And when we see news at the moment about all these breweries going out of business, it's not us thinking, oh bloody hell, there's an opportunity to sell more beer. It's thinking, shit, there's loads of people who are in our industry who are super passionate, who might be out of jobs now, and it's really...
unfortunately, in some instances, that's some friends incurring some pain.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's not nice.
So other industries would be loving it with their competitors who are going out of business. We don't. It's not nice at all. We just empathise. Well,
empathise. There we go.
For them. So not a nice position.
Jesus, we've done some dark moments tonight, haven't we? Wasn't the intention, guys. This is supposed to be uplifting.
Yeah.
This is beer.
Yeah.
Bring us back to the doom.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I guess that's where the world is right now. But yeah, if we could go back to where we started this point, fantastic industry, nothing like it, and we know how lucky we are to be part of it.
And one of the cool things is we're going to go and tell you a little bit more about the next month's subs box and all the other things coming up. One of the really, really cool things yesterday, also really sad things, one of the awards was for Brewer of the Year. And if you go back to January this year, and we had the guys from Lakes in for a collab and in for the live tasting, and Matt and Michelle won New Brewery of the Year at the award, so it was awesome for them. Matt was nominated for the second year in a row as Brewer of the Year, and he didn't win. It's the second year in a row he hasn't won, but he's a really cool guy. He's really open to that, and he's not too upset. Because the person who won, there's only two shortlisted, was one of his best mates, a guy called Colin Strong, who's the head brewer at Salt, who's actually joining us on January's live stream. So we're brewing a collab with Colin and the Salt guys in January. So the tasting next month, Colin's joining us. The newly proclaimed Brewer of the Year is coming in to brew a beer with us and to have a chat about beer. So that's going to be pretty cool. So that's the January tasting, which is the 13th of January, and we'll be back in the city centre.
Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th. What could go wrong? Your birthday. And then so should we talk about some of the interesting stuff we've got coming back then coming out for next month's box?
So next month, obviously with it being January, what we've tried to do is to focus on low alcohol.
Boo! All our subscribers like, what? How much alcohol you put in a box?
But also to use less adjuncts and make some of our beers vegan, because January is also Veganuary. So we are next month doing. First up, you've got a collab that we brewed with Jordan. We referenced him earlier from Mash Gang. It's a 2.8% hazelnut, caramel, and chocolate stout, which we called the little purple one. So referencing a particular sweet.
I thought it was a Prince reference.
But there was a miscommunication in the team, and you'll find that the branding is actually Prince, because apparently Prince is the little purple one.
So Lee said that he wanted to take Polly's favourite quality street sweet and make it into a low alcohol beer that she could drink all the time. So. But no, it's going to be a really cool one. So if you don't know Mash Gang, you haven't tried their beers, you've got to try them. They're completely bucking the trend in terms of what you can achieve with low alcohol or low or no alcohol. So typically most of their beers are 0.5%, but they've done quite a few what's technically low. So 2.8 and below, you pay less tax on. So they've been doing some really, really cool stuff, especially with the guys at Fierce on in this category. So we have a alcohol-free beer. We didn't want another alcohol-free beer at this stage because you guys want a little bit of fun in your life, don't you?
Well, the challenge with a stout is obviously you're going to expect a certain amount of body to it, and some of that body is alcohol, and it's really, really hard to do a stout that actually feels like a stout but doesn't have alcohol. Although if you've had the Guinness one, it actually does work. But that's expensive technology to get to that point.
So I'm going to skip the next one. You can talk about it in a second. I want to talk about the one I'm really looking forward to, which is also 2.8%. So we've got two technically low or no ones, and this is the next one in our sweet shop series, and it's a raspberry gummy sour
Called
Henry Hogg's, and it might be a play on a certain supermarket's pink pig flavoured sweets. It might not be, but we came up with lots of different names, but Henry Hogg's won through. So it's going to be really cool, and yeah, the way this beer smells exactly like the sweets. It's so.
Oh, no, the flavour is absolutely there, but we can't name it, unfortunately.
Yeah,
we have named it, we can't say what we're talking about.
so you could probably guess what we're talking about.
But I think we have an internal communication tool, and we have a thing on there called names, or beer names, whatever it is. And I think some of the most enthusiastic responses we've had of the last year has been what we call this and don't get ourselves sued.
So we had to tone it down because every sweet shop series beer has been a very obvious play. So Pineapple Cubes is obviously a Pineapple Cubes beer. Cola Cube beer. So we had some amazing names which were pig themed for this. And but we had to go with Henry Hogg's because it kind of is what it is.
My favourite was actually, you know how we did Wu-Tang Clan with the hip hop branding? Yeah, we were going to call it Piggy Smalls.
Small ABV, pig themed and stuff, but
we still may yet release a beer called Piggy Smalls. I feel like I need to now develop a beer to use that name.
So there's your really low ABV entries. So we're going to do them a tasting next month. So we're then going to do, obviously, we can't just do all low ABV. We're going to have to do something a little bit interesting. So what's the
you've not done that one yet?
That's what I'm leading you up to it. Is that,
right, so no, we're going to do a beer called Cara Cara, which is a 4.4 Talus and Nelson Sauvin session IPA. And Cara Cara is the mythical eagle that they think inspired the Aztec eagle branding. Have I done that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's obviously the eagle theme is coming back because it's pale. But the really, really cool one is you may remember that we got a cease and desist that we're not allowed to talk about for a beer that we can't really talk too much about for a film.
Stop talking about that.
for a film that was in the that was released in the 80s. So the Goonies did not inspire us to do this beer, but this vegan version for Veganuary of
are we doing some role reversal?
Yeah.
Usually I'm the one that lets shit slip. And there's the first swear of the night. There we go.
So really, really cool. We've done a 10% vegan version of HYG.
It's almost like you've been drinking 12% stout.
The artist formerly known as Hey You Giles.
It's there. It's there.
So we've gone for HVG on this. So hey vegan guys.
That's for you, yeah. But to continue the theme of the month, you're going to be getting Viking DNA, which, in case you don't remember, was the first ever Brew Yacht beer. The first beer that Wayne and I brewed together, our original stout, original brewery. It's good job this is coming to an end soon.
I know. 12%ers. And this is why we didn't do all 4 of the Bake Off beers.
Yeah, I think we proved why, haven't we? Yeah, so the very original Brew Yacht beer brewed at our original brewery at Warmgate, centre of York, Viking DNA. A slightly different version made with applewood smoked malt this time.
It's on can in the tap room in a bit if you want to try it.
And then the final one that kind of goes with the theme next month is also in your box. You're going to get a vegan version of Juice Forsyth.
So one of the things we're trying to do a little bit more of this year is build on the. Well, actually, before I say this, it's probably obvious now, but Juice Forsyth is obviously one of our biggest brands that we sell. What do you think the other brand is for Brew York? Brew York. What do you think the biggest beer brand we have besides Juice Forsyth? So, yeah. It's obvious, wasn't it? So, Juice Forsyth and Toncoco. So what we want to do a little bit more of this year, we've always done the Toncoco thing and done the different versions of it. But Juice Forsyth, we've got some really, really cool ideas. We're going to do spin-offs and what we're going to call them?
Extended editions.
Extended. We probably got it wrong. But so vegan Juice Forsyth's the first of those. We've got a few really cool ones, like a very strong version of Juice Forsyth or a different fruited version of Juice Forsyth coming up in the year. And the same with Toncoco, some different flavours, some different ideas on building on the base beer. So some pretty cool stuff for 2023. What else is happening?
So some of the dates for your diary. So on the 22nd of December, we're going to be on somebody else's YouTube channel. So the craft beer channel, hosted by Johnny Garrett. We are doing a thing with them 22nd of December. On our website right now, you can buy the box that. Oh, look at this!
Look at that! Look at the overlay.
The technology.
We're so impressed with the technology now.
Yeah.
There's even an eagle in the corner. It's swooping down at. Get away!
But I'm waiting for that to come up. But unfortunately, there's a time delay here, so this doesn't make any sense to anyone. There it is. Yeah, so 22nd of December, we're on the Craft Beer channel with Johnny Garrett. The beer box to accompany that is on our website right now. Unfortunately, it's somewhat limited. There's only about 100 available, and I think we've sold a good proportion of them already.
Did you put a shadow on it,
So get on the website now. I hope we put a link on the website that also goes through to their listing. Yeah, we've done that. I'm getting a thumbs up. Yeah.
So the guys from Craft Beer Channel have like, I don't know, 100, not quite 100,000, but they've got thousands of subscribers on YouTube. They've got a really good following from not just the UK, from throughout the world. And it's something they do every year, and we've talked to them for a while about trying to do a tasting with them. So it's pretty cool that we got the invite this year, and then we only went and sold all our beer, didn't we? So we had no Fairy Tale of Brew York for the listing, and that was one of the key tasters we had. So we've had to buy Fairy Tale back from loads of our customers we sell to then be able to bring these boxes together.
Not just ask them to return it.
We've had to buy it at retail price back to then put these boxes. Yeah.
We've had a big we're in London. These guys are down in New York, and we're all online going, I've managed to get 8 from Rad Beer. How many have you got?
So the tasting's going to be awesome. And what we're going to do is once the first, I think it's 100 we've got with the proper listing in, have gone, we'll do an alternative listing where Fairy Tale is going to be swapped for another beer. So hopefully our subscribers have a can of Fairy Tale already, or you've tasted it already. You won't necessarily want to join for that specific beer, but the whole evening is going to be pretty cool. The guys are really, really knowledgeable. They know everything about beer, so it's going to be a good chance for us to chat to them and to talk about our beers. Join us; it's going to be fun. And and if you don't have those beers, Pete will give you a link to the box.
Right, final few dates for your diary before we do the closing questions.
I thought I was having a toilet break soon.
You don't need it again, do you? Yeah. Bloody hell, man.
12% beers. Come on, let's get through these dates and then I'll run off.
I feel like dragging it out now. Right, so New Year's Eve parties. Can you guess what date that's on? So there's going to be one at Hanley over here, and there's also going to be one in the city centre. I believe those tickets are selling really, really
Hanley,
well.
I think there's about 8 tickets left for Hanley. And we're going to look at what we can do to extend the capacity, but Hanley's about to sell out, which is awesome. So the remote tap room is almost sold out. The city centre tap room, there's still a fair few tickets, so get online.
Next one of these, next YouTube is going to be Friday the 13th. We said that. We've got Colin Strong from Salt Beer joining us then. Subscriber party is going to be 20th of December, January even, in York. You'll get some details dropped into your email inbox shortly. And I think that's about it. So on to some questions. What is the biggest thing Brew York has learnt this year as a brewery? And that's from Emma.
The biggest thing?
Biggest thing we've learned this year? I don't know. I think the biggest thing we probably learned this year is to expect the unexpected, which sounds cliche, but who on earth could have known that this year would have been what this year has become? Yeah, so... Yeah, nobody... Who on earth would have thought we would come out of a pandemic and walk straight into a world war? So, yeah, we didn't know that, and I don't want to get over kind of politicised about this, but if we're going that way, bloody hell, what was Liz just doing? So, yeah, who could have thought we would have faced the economic challenges we have this year through the combined incompetence of our government and other things like the Russian influence? So, I'd say it extends back further than this year. Build a broad and varied business. The reason I think we survived the pandemic is because of you guys, but because we had the diverse business where we had the ability to sell online as well as to sell direct, and we didn't just do one style of beer, we did a broad range of beers, so they appealed to lots of different peoples. So I think this year in particular has really emphasised that. What new things would Brew York like to play with next year? Depends how much I'm allowed to spend. What would we like to play with? I think if we're talking beer trends, up and coming styles, I definitely want to do more cold IPAs. I think the one we drank tonight was not bang on in terms of the style, but I really enjoyed it. I think Kairaku that we'd done earlier in terms of having the actual bitterness and the real resinous, I would like to see more with that. I think lagers, craft lagers, are going to be huge. That is no secret, so I want to do a few more of those. And I think beyond that, we've done really well at working with UK breweries. I think next year needs to be our breakout year in terms of working more with international breweries. Will we do a Toblerone Stout?
Another?
Yeah, we've done this. We got sued for that one.
So we did a beer called...
We're not sued.
No, we did a beer called Nougat Friend, which was the Toy Story themed beer, and it was the Portman group said that it was appealing to kids, so we weren't allowed to use the cans. Yeah,
because we all know that the kids shop in the beer aisle and they're really into 7% pastry stouts.
But honestly, but we've got to a position where we've still got maybe 30,000 empty cans of Nougat Friend because it was a big listing, so we had it fully printed. So this year, or 2023, quite a few of the special beers or limited release beers we're going to send out are going to be that can with a sticker around it with an explanation and a QR code of why we're using them, because we want to be big FU to Portman Group and just say we're not going to waste 30,000 cans because you guys don't know your ass from your elbow. So we're going to put some beers out there and we're going to lean into it a little bit and let the general public know why we use those.
You really have been drinking 12% Stout, haven't you? This is usually me. I'm enjoying this.
I said arse.
Yeah. See, next week when we meet up with our head of marketing, and you'll be the one who's shit instead of me for a change. Okay, I like this. Final question we're concluding on is, when are you bringing back Tonk Oatko, which was our original vegan version of the Tonkoko style? So that was meant to be a vegan reinterpretation of the Imperial Tonkoko. We're not bringing that one back, but what we are bringing back, what we are doing is a vegan version of the original Tonkoko at 4.3%. And if I'm right, I think that's going to make your February boxes.
So yeah, we've got a few different, we said about the HVG. It's got a few different vegan versions of beers we're going to bring out next year. And hopefully, I know it's not a stout, but the one earlier, the plum cake, is a good indication of what we can achieve with without lactose with a bit of maltodextrin and a slightly different brewing technique. So hopefully you guys will appreciate that, and we'll do something similar with things like Ton Cocoa this year.
Anyway, Wayne may have been twice, but I do need to go now. So we need to wrap this up. So can we conclude by saying thank you once again for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed the session. Hope to see you next time, which is the 13th of January, Friday the 13th. Any feedback, please get it into info@brewyork.co.uk. Did I say that right? .co.uk? Almost. I really need that.
He needs a load. He needs some of his rum as well. So cheers, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. See you next time. Cheers.